children, and welcome to this class. So today from the Hornbill we'll do the lesson The Adventure, and it is written by Jayant Narlikar, and it is about Mumbai, and the writer, he went over there and he wanted to meet his son. So he came across many of the incidents that took place in Mumbai. So while he was in the train, the Jijamata Express sped along Pune-Bombay route. So from Pune he was going to Mumbai. So from there, and it was running very fast, faster than Deccan Queen. Then it's the name of the train. Deccan Queen is the name of the train, and even the Jijamata Express is the name of the train. There were no industrial township outside Pune, and outside Pune there were no towns. The first stop, Lonavala, came in 40 minutes. The Ghat section that followed was no different from what he knew, and after that the Ghats came. The train stopped as Karjat only briefly and went on at even greater speed. It rode through Kalyan, and then in Karjat it stopped for a few moments, and then it went on in a great speed, and through Kalyan it went. The racing mind of Professor Gaitonde. So the character over here is Professor Gaitonde. He arrived at the planned action of Bombay. Indeed, as an historian, he felt he should have thought of it sooner. And he, being a historian, he thought that this thing that was going on in his mind should have come earlier to his mind. He would go to a big library and browse through history books. So what he'll do, he'll go to the library in Mumbai, then he'll look into the history books. That was the surest way of finding out how the present state of affairs was reached, and through the history books he'll be able to understand the present condition of the place has come. He also planned eventually to return to Pune and have a long talk with Rajendra Deshpande. And then he also planned that after going to the library, going through the history books, he will go to Rajendra Deshpande, and then he will have a long talk over there with him, who would surely help him to understand what had happened. And then he will be helping him to understand what had happened over there. That is assuming that in this world there existed someone called Rajendra Deshpande. And when he was thinking about Rajendra Deshpande, so we come to know that such kind of a person also was there in Mumbai. The train stopped beyond the long tunnel. The long tunnel was there. After crossing it, the train stopped. It was a small station called Sarhad. And then the small station came, and the name of that station was Sarhad. An Anglo-Indian in uniform went through the train checking permits. An Anglo-Indian was there. He was the ticket collector over there. He was checker, and he was checking the tickets. And tickets were called the permits at that time. This is where the British Raj begins. You are going for the first time, I presume. Khan Sahib was sitting in the train. So he asked Professor Gaitonde, okay, from here the British Raj begins, and I think you are going for the first time. Yes, the reply was factually correct. Gangadhar Pant had not been to this Bombay before. He ventured a question, and Khan Sahib, how will you go to Peshawar? And this Gangadhar Pant, this Professor Gaitonde, he was also called Gangadhar Pant. So he said, I have not been over here before. And then he asked Khan Sahib, how you are going to go to Peshawar? So Khan Sahib said to him, this train goes up to Victoria Terminus. Now it is called CST, Chhatrapati Shivaji Terminal. I will take the Frontier Mail tonight out of the Central, and from Central the Frontier Mail will go. How far does it go? By what route? And then he questioned him, from which route it will go and how far? So he said Bombay to Delhi, then to Lahore, and then Peshawar. A long journey. I will reach Peshawar day after tomorrow. And he said From Bombay he'll go to Delhi, from Delhi to Lahore and then to Peshawar. And he said that the journey is very long and day after tomorrow he will reach the place. Thereafter Khan Sahib spoke a lot about the business and Gangadhar Pant was a willing listener. And many things Khan Sahib told him and Gangadhar Pant he was listening to him. For in that way he was able to get some flavor of life in this India that was so different. And this way he was getting the idea of India in Mumbai. The train now passed through suburban rail traffic. The blue carriages carried letters GBMR on the side. And when the train was passing the suburban area, there the blue carriages were standing, and on those carriages it was written GBMR, Greater Bombay Metropolitan Railway. Explained Khan Sahib. Khan Sahib said this means Greater Bombay Metropolitan Railway. See the tiny Union Jack painted on each carriage, and on each carriage there was a trademark of Jack Union, a gentle reminder that we are in British territory, and through that we can understand that we are in the British territory. The train began to slow down beyond Dadar and stopped only at its destination, Victoria Terminus. From Dadar, the train started moving slowly and then it stopped at Victoria Terminus. The station looked remarkably neat and clean. The station was neat and clean. The staff was made up of Anglo-Indians and Parsis along with handful of British officers. So the staff, railway staff was of Anglo-Indians, Parsis and British officers. As he emerged from the station, Gangadhar Pant found himself facing an imposing building. When he came out of the station, he saw that the big building is there in front of him. The letter on it proclaimed its identity to those who did not know this Bombay landmark. And on that it was written East India House, headquarters of East India Company. And it was written to make the people understand that this is the landmark of Bombay. Prepared as he was for many shocks, Professor Gaitonde had not expected this. And Professor, he did not expect all these things, and one after the other he was getting shocks. The East India Company had been wounded up shortly after the events of 1857, at least that is what history books said. And according to the history books, it was written that 1857, after the War of 1857, the Britishers, they wound up their things and they went away from here. Yet here it was, not only alive but flourishing. And when he came over there, he found that the British Raj was flourishing in that area. So history had taken different turn perhaps before 1857. So the history had taken a great turn. How and when had it happened, and he had to find out. Now, how and when did it took place, he wanted to know about all these things. So as he walked along Hornby Road, as it was called, he found a different set of shops and office buildings. So as he went on walking on the street, he found that the shops and office buildings were quite different. There was no handloom house buildings. Instead, there were booths and Woolworth departmental stores, imposing offices of Lloyds, Barclays and other British bank, as in a typical high street of a town in England. So instead of handloom house buildings, he found the big departmental stores of the Britishers as it was seen in England. He turned right along Home Street and entered Forbes Building. Then he entered Forbes Building, and then he went over there and he said to the English receptionist that he wanted to meet Mr. Vinay Gaitonde. And she searched the telephone list, staff list, directory of employees, branches of all the firms, and then she shook her head and she said, "I'm afraid I can't find anyone of that name." here or in any other branch. Are you sure he works over here? So she said she didn't find any of the person of that particular name. This was a blow, not totally unexpected. And Professor, he was not expecting this, and it was a great blow to him. If he himself were dead in this world, what guarantee that he and his son would be alive? So he said to himself, he thought to himself that he finds himself to be dead in this particular world. So there is no guarantee that his son is alive. Indeed, he may not have been born. And he was thinking that he might not have been born to see such thing. He thanked the girl politely and came out. It was characteristic of him not to worry about where he would stay. And then politely he said thanks to her and he came out, and he never worried where he would stay. His main concern was to make his way to the library of the Asiatic Society to solve the riddle of history. He only wanted to solve the puzzle of the history about the British Raj. Grabbing a quick lunch at a restaurant, he made his way to the town hall, and then he had a quick lunch in one of the restaurants, and then he went towards the town hall. And the town hall had the big library. So he moved forward for the library. So here, this is part 1 of the chapter, and rest we'll do in the next class. So good day and good luck, children, and better prepare for your exams.